Hello and welcome to Everyone Dies, where we talk about the things most people avoid, but we all need to understand. This week's discussion is about seasonal affective disorder, a form of depression that arrives like an unwelcome winter guest and doesn't leave till spring. January's here, and with it comes a kind of darkness that feels different. The days are short, the light is scarce, and for many of us, our mood settles into the same low place as the winter sun. Every year, millions of people experience a dip in mood, energy, and motivation as the days get darker. Turn on a lamp so you're not in the dark and settle in for our podcast about serious illness, dying, death, and bereavement. Because even though everyone dies, no one has to face it unprepared. I'm Marianne Matzo, a nurse practitioner, and I use my experience from working as a nurse for 47 years to help answer your questions about what happens at the end of life.
And I'm Charlie Navarrete, an actor in New York City, and here to offer an every-person viewpoint to our podcast. We're both here because we believe that the more you know, the better prepared you are to make difficult decisions when a crisis hits. And remember, this podcast does not provide medical nor legal advice, so please listen to the complete disclosure at the end of the recording.
In the first half, Charlie continues his series about advice from 90-year-olds on longevity and living well, and also has our recipe of the week. In the second half, we're talking about seasonal affective disorder. Even if you've never been diagnosed, you might notice the winter blues, feeling heavier, sleepier, and just not yourself. And later, in our third half, Charlie has some thoughts about how to survive the dark months with humor, perspective, and, I don't know, maybe a little joy. So, Charlie, it's mid-January. How did we get here already?
The rotation of the Earth. I'm going to go with that.
You know, I didn't know Neil deGrasse Tyson was on the show this week. But...
Yes. Neil and I talk once in a while.
Yeah.
And actually, there was one time I was on the subway. I looked up, and there was Neil deGrasse Tyson. And we just got into a discussion of Pluto. Remember when he's
the dog?
Yes, Mickey's dog.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it switched to the quote, not planet, unquote, Pluto, which is what Tyson referred to Pluto as. And we started to chat about it. And at one point, he said, look, get over it. It's not a planet. You had to be there. It was very funny. So that's my Neil deGrasse Tyson story.
Wow.
And that's why I still stay in New York. I bump into people like that.
Well, at least you have a reason, dear.
Yes. So, in our first half, Susan Fitzgerald profiled people in their 90s and published their tips for longevity and living well. I'm running fast into my 90s, so I'm looking to see what I can do to be the randiest 90-year-old on the block. This week we meet Albert, age 100, whose defining characteristic is determination. Albert last saw his mother when he was 19, and the Nazis were advancing on Poland. She died in the Holocaust, along with other relatives. He still remembers one of his mother's early lessons. Be honest, be nice, be kind. He also internalized another lesson. Don't give up. If I have something on my mind, I do it. I don't stop until I finish it. You can call it stubbornness, but I call it determination. The trait is so important to him that he used it for the title of his memoir, Determination, Through the Holocaust, War, and Beyond. We put a link in the show notes for the book, which he published 5 years ago. It recounts his life growing up in Poland with a single mother, escaping the Nazis, and serving in the Polish army under Russian command. Upon immigrating to the United States in 1949, Pollock settled in Cleveland, where his aunt and uncle lived. He worked as a photographer and was especially skilled at touching up negatives in the era before digital photography. He made mothers of brides and grooms look younger and removed pimples on high school graduates. I didn't change their looks. I just made them look better, he says. Over the years, his photo studio expanded to include custom framing. Pollock married his second wife, Madeline, 41 years ago, and among them they have 4 children, 8 grandchildren, and 9 great-grandchildren. They've always lived in the same house, which is filled with design touches and renovations they did themselves. At the age of 80, Pollock pulled up wall-to-wall carpeting and installed ash flooring. He helped build a playground in their Cleveland suburb and says being involved in their community has always been a priority. If someone called and they needed advice, I took my toolbox and solved their problem, he says. Pollock and his wife gave up red meat back in the 1980s, and Madeline makes their meals from scratch, using vegetables and herbs from their garden and greenhouse, which Pollock built. He does have macular degeneration and can see only slightly with his left eye. That makes it hard for him to walk around his garden or neighborhood, but he gets in 1,000 steps a day by walking around inside. The house, which is 1 story and wheelchair accessible, was built 41 years ago with the idea that he and Madeline could live there forever. When Pollock turned 100, he invited family and about 65 friends to celebrate if they were vaccinated and boosted against COVID-19. At this age, I couldn't want anything more, he says. Even if I had $10 million in the bank, it wouldn't please me more than seeing my great-grandchildren every day. In honor of Albert's Polish heritage, our recipe this week is for Polish ham roll-ups. Cream cheese is spread on Polish ham with a pickle in the center, rolled up and sliced into bite-sized delights. The optional crunch of crushed-up Doritos is an added delight. What a great finger food to bring to your next funeral lunch. Bon appetit! Please go to our webpage for this week's recipe and for additional resources for this program. This is the part where we ask for your financial support. Your tax-deductible gift will go directly to supporting our nonprofit journalism so that we can remain accessible to everyone. You can donate at www.everyonedies.org or at our site on Patreon under Everyone Dies. Marianne?
Thank you, Charlie. And welcome to January, where we spend more time in the dark, which for many people also matches their mood. My last job before I retired, I worked as an oncology nurse practitioner 4 days a week from 6:30 till 4:30 in the afternoon. This meant I went to work and returned home in the dark. It was really strange to never see the sun all winter except through the window. For many people, the darkened days of winter brings with it seasonal affective disorder, known as SAD, the letters of seasonal affective disorder, a type of depression that typically begins in the fall or winter with symptoms of lower moods, lackluster energy, reduced pleasure, and extreme sleepiness that affects an estimated 5% of Americans. Women are 4 times as susceptible as men to developing SAD. Many more people are believed to experience a milder version known as the winter blues. Norman Rosenthal, a psychiatrist at Georgetown University School of Medicine, first described and named the condition in 1984. Rosenthal theorized that there was a connection between light and why some people like him had diminished mood in winter. Researchers believe that wintertime SAD is caused by reduced sunlight, which can desynchronize our internal circadian rhythm from the natural light cycles outside. Light is invigorating and mood-lifting. Specialized photoreceptors in the retina, that's in the eye, connect directly to mood-related areas of the brain. Research documents that people also have seasonal variations in mood related to neurotransmitters, serotonin, and dopamine. To fight SAD, the answer is to provide more light where it is missing. The standard treatment for SAD is bright light therapy with a light box that delivers at least 10,000 lux of light. Usual indoor lights are typically less than 1,000 lights. Direct sunlight can go up to 100,000 lux as a way of comparison. Now, I always say you can get anything on Amazon, and you can get your light box there. Just make sure you're looking for the 10,000 lux of light. A 2015 study by Rohan and colleagues documented that light therapy is effective at improving mood and reducing symptoms of SAD in about 64% of patients. SAD symptoms tend to peak in January and February, but the onset can vary from person to person. Think about how you're feeling. Are you more tired or depressed than you were last month? How were you at this time last year? Start to prepare in the fall if you had issues last winter. Getting a light box, even if you're not sure, can also be helpful in non-seasonal depression. A 2025 study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association suggested that bright light therapy was effective as an added treatment for non-seasonal depression and may speed up treatment response. Light therapy is most typically prescribed in the early morning, which studies show is the most effective time to shift circadian rhythms to associate with the environment. Because light therapy is replacing what is missing, using light therapy near the end of the day can also be effective so you don't have the suddenness of the winter darkness. Besides using light boxes inside, try walking outside in the sun, which can help treat your biology. Antidepressants and cognitive behavioral therapy are very effective for many kinds of depression, and SAD is no exception. Even if you're losing 10% of your usual functioning this season, if you're feeling just a bit more tired, more down, or worried, it's something that needs to be identified and addressed. You want to have peak experiences and joy in life. Don't let the darkness take that from you. Remember, if you are buying a light box, get one with 10,000 lux of light. In our third half, Charlie has some other thoughts to help you through the winter months of low light. Charlie?
Yeah, this whole thing about light. There's been a push to eliminate our time changes.
Mm-hmm.
We fall back an hour, and then in the fall we jump ahead an hour. And um, yeah, so what you were saying, when you were working full time, you woke up in the dark and you left in the dark. And there's a push where to get rid of that so that we're just always on the same. I think it's daylight saving time, so that yeah, naturally in the evening there it will be dark, but it's not going to be dark at 4:30 in the afternoon, which is what happens on the East Coast. Yeah, it just really it affects a lot of people, and usually stuff like that doesn't affect me. But now that I'm just a little older, I am beginning to notice it,
Oh,
um,
really?
and I don't like it. And stop it, make it stop, Marianne. But yeah, I think every president over the past several presidents have said, and Congress got in the act and agreed, yeah, we really need to eliminate this, and nobody ever does it. Okay, thank you for listening to me. I will step off my soapbox now. Yeah, and the other thing too, what you were saying about the oh shoot, what was it? Is it called
Circadian rhythm.
circadian rhythm? Yeah, that thing. Um, yeah, I mean, what for tens of thousands of years, people did not use an alarm clock. It was just, as you were describing, nature, letting nature take its course, and our bodies adjusted to it. So this whole thing of setting the alarm clock and waking up in the dark and all that stuff, yeah, this is brand new. Really, just maybe I was going to say 200 years ago when the Industrial Revolution began, but not even 200 years ago. I mean, much less.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, like
Because, you woke up with the sun and
Yes.
then you went outside and,
Yes.
milked the cows or whatever one
Right.
did. You didn't stay all day in a building,
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
which is really cruel and unusual punishment.
Well, and the other thing too, when at least at the time, if it was some warehouse or factory, yeah, those conditions were horrible. But at least if you were in some office building, office buildings, back in the day were bigger and there was more light, etc. Not now. I mean, current office buildings are just sterile and windows are much smaller. Um, but yeah, that it's just yeah, people are just not aware how much light affects you. And yeah, and I've run into people say, "Oh no, I only need 4 hours of sleep a night," and this, and I do believe that it's not one size fits all, but for the vast majority, you need your light.
And you need your sleep.
Yes. Speaking of light, what about artificial light? I mean, just simple light bulbs. Does that?
Well, like I said,
Uh huh.
a light bulb is 1,000, um, and you need 10,000
Oh, that's what it was. Right, right,
in
right. Yeah,
order to, get that
that
light
effect. Yeah.
effect. Yeah. And when I was working, I bought a light box and I put it on my desk, and I would have it on like in the morning when I was answering phone calls or, charting or whatever. And then when I left, I gave it to a nurse practitioner that I worked with, and she said, "Why are you giving this to me? Do you think I'm depressed?" I said, "No, this will, you're now stuck in the office too, and so I'm gifting my stuff to you." I think she was a little insulted that I gave it to her, but that wasn't the intent. It was like, this just can help you feel better, even if you don't know that you need it.
Yeah. No, very true. Very true. All righty. For our third half, I have for you some ways that you can manage seasonal affective disorder, or SAD for short. It is easier to prepare for and prevent winter SAD than to dig ourselves out of depression later. First, get a light box for bright light therapy and use it in the mornings to recalibrate your circadian rhythms. Specific light sensitive receptors in the retinas of our eyes connect directly to mood areas in the brain. Light has antidepressant and alerting properties and is recommended as therapy for other non seasonal mood disorders. Bright light therapy is the standard treatment for SAD. It mimics outdoor light and can reduce symptoms in about 67% of people with milder SAD and in about 40% of people with severe SAD. When you use it correctly, it can be an effective treatment for winter SAD with minimal side effects. This works best if you start using light therapy at the very first symptoms each year. Don't wait until you are fully depressed to start. The very first day you wake up and say, "I feel more tired than I did yesterday," is your cue to start light therapy. Light is not so a temporary intervention, but rather an environmental change that you permanently need. Next, talk with your primary healthcare practitioner. If you do not have an official diagnosis of winter SAD, but find symptoms have gotten in the way of your daily life, ask your primary care practitioner for a referral to a qualified mental health professional. You wouldn't want to treat a cancer diagnosis on your own, so don't try to manage SAD by yourself. Alerting a trusted therapist can help to catch early signs of SAD symptoms and provide support. Psychotherapy, especially cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, has been shown to help with SAD by teaching effective coping skills. Third, keep up routines that help your mental health. When you're feeling depressed in the winter, it's easy to pretend you're a bear and hibernate. This will just make depression worse. Stay sociable. Engaging in hobbies and exercise can improve your mood. Preparing early for these activities in the winter, such as having a warm coat to continue your walks, or signing up for a dance class can make it easier to keep up your mood boosting routines. Lastly, reevaluate your outlook on the changing seasons. People with winter sad may have learned negative associations with the signs of autumn and winter. Instead, try to see the joy of the changing seasons instead of viewing it with dread, which may make the depression worse. And that ends this week's episode. Please stay tuned for the continuing saga of Everyone Dies, and thank you for listening. You can find more episodes from our series about grief on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app. Follow and subscribe to the show and share it with someone who needs a little hope today. This is Charlie Navarrete, and from writer, director, and actor Woody Allen, I don't want to achieve immortality through my work. I want to achieve it through not dying.
And I'm Marianne Matzo, and we'll see you next week. Remember, every day is a gift.
This podcast does not provide medical advice. All discussion on this podcast, such as treatments, dosages, outcomes, charts, patient profiles, advice, messages, and any other discussion are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment. Always seek the advice of your primary care practitioner or other qualified health providers with any questions that you may have regarding your health. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard from this podcast. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or 911 immediately. Everyone Dies does not recommend or endorse any specific tests, practitioners, products, procedures, opinions, or other information that may be mentioned in this podcast. Reliance on any information provided in this podcast by persons appearing on this podcast at the invitation of Everyone Dies or by other members is solely at your own risk.